This is my audience. Jesse is going to hold the camera for me. Hi, I'm Cameron, and today my presentation is called Jaws, the Misunderstanding That Changed Our Oceans. When you think of the ocean, what do you think of? I won't act like I can read your mind, but I'm guessing that at least some of you have sharks on that list. And in 1975, when Steven Spielberg released the blockbuster called Jaws, it quickly became very apparent that a lot of Americans were imagining a man-eating monster right alongside the coastlines where they swim. The movie quickly grossed over $287 million domestically and over $490 million internationally. By the end of '75, 21% of Americans said that they had already seen it, and 15% of Americans said that they wanted to see it. But this blockbuster, though enjoyable, was not without consequences. It became pretty clear to experts very quickly after this release that there was a generalized uptick in the fear of sharks that people were experiencing. This meant that there was more recreational shark fishing, and because there was more recreational shark fishing, it gave fishing industries leave to create more bycatch. So they weren't releasing sharks and they weren't being more careful about catching them. It's estimated by experts that over 100 million sharks till this day are captured every year. So not without consequence. So, now that we know a little bit more about sharks and their plight, let's talk about the likelihood that you ever come in contact with a shark. Now, it's unlikely that a shark will ever attack you. The chances are very, very low. In fact, as low as 1 in 11.5 million beach visits. Even if you are attacked, it's not likely to be fatal, as out of the 65 attacks that occurred in 2025, only 9 of them were fatal. You are 3 times more likely to drown at the beach than you are to be attacked by a shark. So, since these numbers are a little bit confusing, let's look at the kinds of sharks we might come in contact with and where. This is a blue shark, an open water shark. It's often found swimming along commercial fishing boats, waiting for some chum to fall, hopefully. This is a blacktip reef shark, and they're found, of course, on the reefs and often come in contact with snorkelers and divers. This is my personal favorite shark, a lemon shark, got a great smile. They're often seen basking in the sunlit waters off coasts of tropical areas. This might be a little hard to see, I apologize, but there's 2 divers or snorkelers here, and in pretty close proximity, there's a shark right there, and the divers don't even know. So I recognize that this stat might not be super comforting to all of you, especially given all of these guys' great teeth you can see and the image of that. But sharks are 500 million year old hunting machines. They are not trying to eat humans, as Bruce in Jaws was. They use all of their senses all the time to constantly hunt and do the best that they can for themselves. So 3 of my favorite senses, which I will demonstrate on my friend here. The first one is that they have great hearing. Obviously, this guy doesn't have knitted ears, but you can imagine they're just holes in the side of his head. They can hear from miles away, and they often use this to identify thrashing and splashing in the water, and yelling. They also have what's called mechanosense, which allows for a fluid-filled canal along the lateral line of their body, which identifies movement and vibration in the water, also from about a mile away. My personal favorite shark sense is called electrosense, but again, we're missing it on this guy, but bear with me. It's called ampullae of Lorenzini, and it's gel-filled sacs that are around the shark's snout that allow for the shark to identify electrical signals, especially in close proximity. This guy here knows that there's thousands and thousands of fish up there. So with all of these senses that are geared towards maybe not attacking humans, why do attacks still happen? Baseline is that sharks are super curious and investigative predators. They will often take an exploratory bite, which can unfortunately be destructive for us, and they'll stick their snouts up out of the water to investigate us, more often than they'll bite us. Now, a surfer or a swimmer or a splashing child or a dog might look like a potential food item to a shark when they're looking up out of the water at the surface through the sun. This is a good example of that. To us, it doesn't look quite the same, but for sharks who are using all of their senses, that looks about right to be a seal. So it is unfortunate that sometimes these sharks happen, but they give us so much more than they take from us. These guys are ecosystem heroes. They manage their prey by protecting carbon stores that would become destroyed without them. They disperse oxygen and carbon by swimming through mass amounts of fish and dispersing all of the elements there and kicking up silt. And they are a great waste management team for the bottom of the ocean. This guy here is a tiger shark, and you might hear him referred to as the trash can of the sea, because he'll eat almost anything. But all sharks are great for cleaning up carcasses and waste left by large whales or other mammals. So, now that we know what's really going on with sharks, let's talk about what Jaws actually got wrong, because although I love it, they do have some cleaning up to do. So, sharks are not relentless. They will not do this, especially after they've been stabbed in the face or shot at with a shotgun. They'll probably leave you alone. Sharks are very big, but they're not that big. The biggest great white ever caught was 20 feet long, and that's an abnormality. Most of them are only 15 to 16 feet, but the shark in Jaws, named Bruce, was supposed to be 25 feet long. That's inaccurate. Now, sharks are incredibly well-honed predators, but they're not mindless. They're super thoughtful, and they use their intention and their capabilities to hunt what is easiest for them. So they're curious, they're investigative, and unfortunately for us, because we're fragile, that means that we often suffer. But they're not mindless. I love sharks. This is basically just a summary of all of the things that I wanted to compare between what we actually know about sharks and what we thought we knew when Jaws came out in that fateful summer of 1975. They are super curious, they are super investigative, they're cuddly, they spend a lot of time with us, with other sharks, and even out of the air. They're not relentless, they're just really good at what they do, and unfortunately to us, that looks scary. They're not intentional about predating on people at all. Like I said, the chances of even being attacked are super low, and the chances that they continue that attack once they realize what you are is really even lower. So, these are just a few shark species. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit through all of them. But this is a great example of the diversity that all of these sharks add to our world and our ecosystems. They're super, super important. And while I do love Jaws, it's truly one of my favorite movies, I watch it as a fiction. That's exactly what it was. It's a fiction based on a fear that humans have, but it's not accurate at all. Sharks add so much to their ecosystem, so much to our natural world, and are incredibly beautiful. They've been wrongfully persecuted for hundreds of years, and I hope that today this presentation has convinced you maybe to do your own research into Jaws, into sharks, and into all the animals that are represented in the media. Thank you. And here are my sources. Do you guys have any questions?
Do you think that knowing what we know now, do you think that Spielberg or other producers, like, do you think that they now know, be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have done that?
Well, I mean, considering the amount of shark movies we still see, I think they still would have made it. But I do know that Steven Spielberg in a BBC interview did say he regretted like all of the onslaught of terror that we rained on sharks. But shark movies are still popular. A lot of them are done differently with better, more accurate representation. So, I mean, I love a good shark movie, but I don't think they're as popular as they were back then because I think we know a little bit more. So.
When we're talking about Jaws, we're also talking about a relationship between humans and creatures that's existed for hundreds and thousands of years.
Yeah.
Do you know what the first written record of sharks and of humans would be?
I have no idea, but I do know that there's a story that was written in, I believe it was ancient Rome or ancient Greece, about maybe a shark, maybe a whale, in one of the bays there that was terrorizing boats. And it turns out that it was just a shallow part of the water, and the boats were essentially ramming into it. There's a good chance it was an orca, there's a good chance it was a whale shark, we don't really know. But that is one of my stories of people kind of misinterpreting sharks' intentions there, and just sea creatures generally. So I don't know the earliest written record, But that's one of my stories of a very early written record of people just kind of casting this shadow over sharks without really exploring it any further, and then being sort of shamed into realizing that they were wrong. So, any more questions?
I have another one.
Yeah.
If you said that every year, even still, there's like 100 million sharks that are caught in nets or
Yeah.
purposely hunted, do you think that there will ever be a point where there's enough information, enough like examples of essentially proving this sharks are terrible and they're just out there to attack humans? Do you think there's ever going to be enough information where people will backpedal on that? Because 100 million, that's a lot of sharks.
Yes, it is. It is a lot of sharks, and you know, honestly, no. Sharks have been my fascination for as long as I can remember having a conscious memory, and in my even short lifespan, I've seen great leaps taken in conservation, which is awesome. We have history being broken every year with how many sharks we're saving and how many sharks we're tracking, and that's awesome. And we have seen populations increase in the time that we've spent, but I don't think so. I mean, sharks are scary, and we don't like scary stuff. We like kitties, we like puppies, we like birds, we like all these kinds of things, and it intimidates us when things are bigger, stronger, and faster than us, and more efficient predators. In our element is the land, not the water, and we are not the top dog out there. So I wish I could say yes, but honestly, this totally opinion based. No, I don't. The good thing is that there are about 500 species of sharks. So while they take a hit every single year, they're super, super resilient, and they've been around for millions and millions and millions of years. So hopefully with our conservation efforts, our help, and our research and information, we can keep them steadily growing instead of steadily decreasing. But I don't think you're ever going to get everyone on the same page about shark conservation, unfortunately. All good? All right. Thanks, guys.